Dear people of God, on this Good Friday, this Friday of Holy Week, which is not the end of things, or is it? But on this Friday of Holy Week, our prayer is, O God, Heavenly Father, you sent your Son into the world not to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved, that all who believe in him might be delivered from the power of death and become heirs with him of everlasting life. This message today could be titled Life Interrupted, because that's what the Friday of Holy Week is all about the life of Jesus being interrupted. And our question becomes, but is it ended? And perhaps we've got a while longer to answer that question, but doesn't it mirror the life we're living right now in our world today, where our rhythm of life has been interrupted and we don't know what the end is going to look like or what kind of ending it will be? Will it be an ending that then turns into a new beginning? But we don't know yet, do we? But I think we can look back, if we're honest with ourselves, if we're really real with ourselves, we can look back over our own life and get some clues about this idea of endings and beginnings. I don't know, but like me, like you and me, perhaps we can remember times in our lives when the rhythm of our life as we knew it, as we wanted it to be, even if it wasn't perfect, got interrupted by something perhaps we might have expected or might have predicted, but a lot of times it was something we couldn't have imagined. An accident for someone we love. Maybe someone that we thought we were close with saying, bye, I'm out of here. Maybe the death of someone we loved. Maybe some tragedy that happened near us in our neighborhood, in our family, or even halfway across the world, that somehow impacted our way of life. When something interrupted the way we wanted life to be, the way we thought it was going to unfold. Something interrupted it that we couldn't have predicted, that we didn't know how to handle. I can remember times like that in my life. I can remember a time when all I wanted to do was crawl back into bed and pull the covers over me and just lie there in the darkness and say, I just don't even want to move. I don't even want to get up. I don't even want to face the day. I can remember times in the life of those around me, and I heard of something happening, and it changed my rhythm of life, not only theirs, but interrupted the way my life was, because my life was so interrelated with their life. You know, the death of my mother, the moving away of someone. I remember one time I was in this job and I got fired. You're fired. I mean, I was young. I was like 21 years old, and my husband and I depended on that income. And because that company was downsizing, they said, you're fired. We're not going to renew your time with us. There are times that just interrupt life for us. And the crazy thing about it is I can remember those times very clearly, and maybe you can too. Now, the interesting thing about Good Friday and the death of Jesus is all four of the Gospels pinpoint the time of his death. It's clear. It's obvious as we read the story, the pinpointing of the time of the conclusion of his life, his death, his being carried to the tomb, carried off the cross, carried to the tomb and laid in a dark, dark tomb. And that's what Good Friday is about. That's why it's a darker day. That's why we don't have colors around us. We take off the hangings because it's just a different day. We're thrust into that darkness, into that space when we don't know. We're supposed to think, what is going to happen? Is it all over now? However, the interesting thing is, and I have read and reread through these Gospels, there is not a single gospel that can tell us when Jesus came back to life again. Somehow in the darkness of that tomb, we have no idea through that 3 days of darkness when it happened, when he returned, reemerged with life, when the light burst in and he became alive again. And you know, I look back over my life, and there's so many times of those life-interrupted, huge events in my life. And somehow, I'm standing here today, alive, with the vitality of life. And I can't tell you exactly when that renewal happened. I kind of know it after it happened. I go back and I say, you know, it happened back maybe during this period, but I can't pinpoint exactly when it happened for me, that I reemerged from that darkness and I felt that life, yes, was going to go on, maybe different, maybe even bigger, maybe even better. But it did go on. It continued. And I think that is the story of Good Friday to Easter Sunday. We can pinpoint that death. We can pinpoint deaths in our own life when there was immense loss of something that we thought was going to continue our lives. Some loss, some deep loss. And yet we can't pinpoint, as we can in the Gospels, as we can in the life of Jesus, exactly when life emerged again. We can't give you the hour. We can't give ourselves the hour, the moment. We can't do that. And yet it happened. And so I think the thing that gives me such hope is the fact that these things happened in all of our lives, and yet we live. Life interrupted, but not ended. Life interrupted, but not ended. That's the story of Good Friday. We hope on that. We live into it. Amen.